Beneath the icy gray waves of the North Sea lies a buried continent. For centuries, humans dreamed of the mythical lost city of Atlantis. But real history holds a far more chilling and scientifically proven catastrophe. 2,000 years ago, Britain was not an island. It was connected to continental Europe by a vast, fertile paradise. Scientists call this submerged heartland Doggerland. Doggerland was once the true garden of prehistoric Europe. It stretched over thousands of square miles of lush valleys and rolling hills. Today, it rests in total darkness beneath 80 feet of ocean water. This is the tragic story of Europe's forgotten Atlantis. To understand Doggerland, we must travel back to the last glacial maximum. 20,000 years ago, massive ice sheets trapped trillions of tons of water. Global sea levels were over 400 feet lower than they are today. Where the North Sea now churns, there was an expansive green plain. You could walk from modern London to Amsterdam without wetting your feet. You could hike from Scotland to Denmark across open wilderness. Doggerland was not a cold, desolate tundra landscape. It was a thriving ecological paradise, fed by Europe's greatest rivers. The Thames, the Rhine, the Seine, and the Elbe merged into a single mega river. This massive river system carved rich, fertile valleys across the land. Vast freshwater lakes and wetlands dotted the landscape. Oak, hazel, and pine forests covered the rolling hillsides. It was one of the richest hunting grounds on planet Earth. Herds of woolly mammoths, steppe bison, and giant deer roamed the plains. Cave lions, saber-toothed cats, and wolves stalked prey through the tall grass. Millions of migratory birds nested in the vast coastal marshes. Rivers overflowed with wild salmon, trout, and freshwater pike. Naturally, this ecological paradise attracted ancient human populations. Around 12,000 years ago, Mesolithic hunter-gatherers inhabited Doggerland. These humans were not primitive ape-like cave dwellers. They were sophisticated toolmakers, hunters, and navigators. Doggerland offered an endless abundance of wild calories. Humans built prosperous seasonal settlements along riverbanks and coastlines. They crafted delicate bone fishhooks, antler harpoons, and woven nets. They carved sleek wooden canoes to navigate the river networks. Archaeological evidence reveals complex social structures and trade networks. They practiced ritual burials and crafted spiritual art from amber and bone. Doggerland was the thriving demographic center of Europe. It hosted the dense heart of European Mesolithic population. For thousands of years, generations of humans called this Greenland home. Children grew up along rivers that no longer exist on any modern map. But their paradise was built on a fragile climate illusion. Far to the north, the great ice sheets began to melt. Around 12,000 years ago, the global climate experienced rapid warming. Massive continental glaciers began retreating and melting rapidly. Trillions of gallons of glacial meltwater poured into the oceans. Global sea levels began a relentless rising trajectory. At first, the ocean encroached slowly, year after year. Low-lying coastal salt marshes gradually submerged under salt water. Ancient forests were drowned and turned into brackish swamps. Human tribes retreated inland, step by step over generations. Families abandoned hunting grounds their grandfathers had walked, but the rising waters were relentless and unstoppable. Every century, the coastline moved miles inward. High hills gradually turned into isolated islands. Valleys transformed into saltwater bays and sea channels. The great mega-river system was swallowed by the ocean tide. By 8000 BCE, Doggerland had shrunk dramatically. The once vast continent was reduced to a giant low-lying island. This remaining sanctuary is known to geologists as Doggerbank. Thousands of humans remained trapped on this shrinking archipelago. Freshwater sources became contaminated with salty seawater. Wild game herds perished or fled across remaining land corridors. Human populations faced severe overcrowding and dwindling resources. The paradise was turning into an ecological nightmare. Yet the final death blow was not a slow creeping tide. The final catastrophe arrived with sudden, terrifying violence. Around 6200 BCE, a planetary event occurred off Norway. Deep beneath the Norwegian Sea lies a steep underwater continental slope. A massive area of unstable marine sediment collapsed in an instant. This geological apocalypse is known as the Storegga Slide. Over 700 cubic miles of rock and mud crashed down the slope. It was one of the largest underwater landslides in Earth's history. The sudden displacement of ocean water generated a colossal tsunami. A wall of water up to 60 feet high raced across the North Sea. The megatsunami charged toward the low-lying island of Doggerbank. Human survivors had zero warning and nowhere to run. The ocean wall slammed into the flat marshes at highway speed. Entire villages were wiped off the face of the earth in minutes. The powerful waves swept away humans, animals, forests, and encampments. The mega tsunami completely submerged the remaining high ground of Doggerbank. Whatever was left of Doggerland was permanently washed away into the sea. Britain was sliced off from Europe forever, becoming an isolated island. The heartland of prehistoric Europe vanished beneath the waves. Surviving human refugees fled to the high hills of England and Denmark. They brought memories of a lost paradise, swallowed by the deep. Over thousands of years, the memory of Doggerland faded into myths. Stories of a drowned homeland were told around night campfires. Eventually, the tales transformed into legends of lost ocean kingdoms. For millennia, modern humans believed Britain was always an island. We assumed the North Sea was an ancient permanent ocean body. Then in the early 20th century, fishermen made a shocking discovery. Steam trawlers, dragging heavy nets across shallow waters, pulled up bizarre objects. Fishermen hauled up heavy fossilized bones of woolly mammoths and lions. They pulled up peat mud containing ancient preserved tree roots. In 1931, a fishing vessel pulled up a carved Mesolithic antler harpoon point. Radiocarbon testing revealed the harpoon was over 12,000 years old. Scientists realized these were not random ship cargo drops. The North Sea bottom was an ancient drowned land surface. In recent decades, oil companies and marine geologists joined the investigation. They used advanced seismic bathymetry to map the seabed layers beneath mud. Sound waves penetrated the ocean floor to reveal ancient topographies. Scientists mapped drowned river valleys, hills, lake basins, and coastlines. They digitally reconstructed the entire lost geography of Doggerland. Underwater archaeologists used submarines and divers to collect sediment cores. They discovered preserved ancient pollen animal DNA and human artifacts. They found worked flint tools, carved bone daggers, and human skulls. The evidence was indisputable. A lost human civilization lay beneath the waves. Doggerland was real, scientifically mapped, and indisputable. It was the true historical foundation for the lost continent myth. But Doggerland is more than just a fascinating archaeological curiosity. Doggerland is a haunting scientific warning for modern human civilization. Today, over 40% of the human population lives near coastlines. Major megacities like New York, London, Tokyo, and Shanghai rest on ocean edges. We live in an era of rapid global climate warming and rising sea levels. Polar ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica are melting at accelerating rates. We view our modern concrete infrastructure as permanent and indestructible. We forget that geography is temporary and nature is indifferent to human ambition. 8,000 years ago, Mesolithic humans thought Doggerland would last forever. They hunted in valleys that are now shipping lanes for cargo vessels. They raised families on hills that are now underwater sandbanks. Climate change swallowed their homes, farmlands, and ancestral graves. The drowning of Doggerland proves how fast geography can rewrite human destiny. When sea levels rise, the ocean takes no hostages and makes no bargains. It moves inland, relentless, patient, and absolute. A sudden submarine slide or storm surge can erase centuries of progress in hours. Our ancient ancestors survived the drowning of Doggerland because they were mobile. Mesolithic humans packed up their skin tents and walked to higher ground. Modern humans are locked in rigid concrete cities and trillions in real estate. We cannot easily move nuclear plants, skyscrapers, and underground transit grids. We are far more vulnerable to rising sea levels than prehistoric hunter-gatherers. Doggerland reminds us that nature holds total authority over human survival. The North Sea holds the silent bones of a forgotten human empire. Beneath the waves lie ancient hearths, flint tools, and lost footprints. The next time you look at a map of Europe, remember what lies beneath. Remember the green valleys where mammoths walked and rivers flowed. Remember the human tribes who sang, laughed, and hunted on the North Sea floor. Their paradise was drowned beneath 80 feet of salt water and sand. Their story was erased from human memory for 8,000 years. But their DNA lives on in modern human populations across Europe. We carry the bloodline of the refugees who survived the drowning of Doggerland. They passed down the resilience to adapt, rebuild, and endure planetary shifts. Sea levels are rising, ocean tides are creeping closer to our cities. Will we listen to the silent warning buried beneath the North Sea? Will we adapt our civilization before the waters rise again? Or will future archaeologists map our submerged concrete skyscrapers beneath the waves? History repeats itself when biological species forget environmental limits. Doggerland is not a myth, a fairy tale, or a bedtime story. Doggerland is a stark reality, written in seabed sediments and drowned bones. It is a testament to the fragile nature of human dominance on Earth. Nature created the Garden of Doggerland, and nature took it away. The ocean claimed Europe's lost heartland without hesitation or mercy. As we face an uncertain climate future, we must honor its memory. Respect the power of changing climate and rising ocean tides. Understand that human civilization exists at the mercy of planetary cycles. Deep beneath the fishing boats of Dogger Bank, the past whispers to the present. It tells us that land is temporary and ocean is eternal. It tells us that survival requires humility, adaptation, and respect for nature. The lost land of Doggerland will remain underwater forever, but its scientific lesson shines bright like a beacon across the waves. Pay attention to the drowned world beneath the sea. Learn from the ancient refugees who lost their green paradise. Protect our modern world before history claims another lost continent. You are standing on the edge of a living, changing planet. Listen to the haunting echoes of Doggerland whispering from the deep. Respect the oceans, protect the climate, and safeguard human destiny. Remember the drowned paradise beneath the North Sea. Honor the resilient ancient ancestors who survived the Great Flood. And never forget that the real Atlantis is lying right under our fishing ships. The story of Doggerland is the ultimate testament to human survival. We faced catastrophe, adapted to shifting worlds, and kept moving forward. Embrace your ancient resilience and respect the living power of planet Earth. The forgotten continent lives on in our science history and DNA. Stand strong, adapt always, and reign supreme as the resilient masters of Earth.